Hey, it's your girl, your favorite paralegal, aka Cassandra Lynn, and welcome to Legal Doc Talk 24/7. I hope you guys are having an amazing Friday. Oh man, without further ado, I do want to hop right into our topic for tonight. I am going to be, as you can see from the thumbnail, speaking on Miss Shanquella Robinson. Her mother actually decided to go ahead and file suit against several individuals and entities in regards for the responsibility of her daughter's death. It is very sad that this has been almost 3 years and nothing has really been done. The case really hasn't gone anywhere with in regards to putting the people who were responsible for, unaliving her. There's like they're just out here living with no regard as to what happened. And it's very, very, very unfortunate. So Miss Robinson said enough is enough. She wants justice for her daughter. She wants to keep pushing until something is done, and I totally agree with her. This is just a sad case where you have this young lady who went on vacation in Mexico with who she thought was her friends, only for her not to come back, and it's very, 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 very sad. And so the family decided to go ahead and file suit against several people, including agencies, in order to bring this to a resolution. The case was actually filed on Monday in the Superior Court in North Carolina. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and hop right on into it. So, as you guys see on the screen, this is the case that was filed. It's the verified complaint. And I have gone through there and redacted personal information for the individuals, as well as some information that should not be viewable to the public. And so we have Miss Salamandra Robinson individually and as a personal representative of the estate of Shanquella Robinson, who is deceased. And then here are they're known as the Cabo Six. So the six friends that went over there and just pretty much, huh. When we start reading the complaint, it's going to paint a picture as to what happened. It has a lot of exhibits to this, so this might be a two-part, three-part series. I don't know yet, just depending on time. But here's the Cabo Six: Dejanay Jackson, Elise Height, Malik Dyer, Winter Donovan, Khalil Cook, Nazir Trey Wiggins, I believe that's his name, the United States Department of States. And that is actually the prosecutors that were looking into her case that did nothing, as well as the Federal Bureau of Investigation, since these were U.S. citizens in a foreign place. So all of these individuals and entities are responsible for, one, unaliving Shanquilla, but two, not following up and doing their due diligence to give the mother and this family closure. And it's very, very, if y'all hear my son in the background, I do apologize. He has his door closed and I can still hear him. Um, so they have not done their due diligence to ensure that the Cabo Six, who are responsible, is, reprimanded, is held accountable for their actions. So it says nature of the action. I already told you guys, who Miss Robinson is suing, and she filed this in North Carolina. She put in the notice of claim. Anytime that you're including any type of state or federal government, you have to do so. It's a notice that you have to send out according to either the state code or the U.S. code. And so that's why this language is particularly in there, as she should. Here you have the parties, and I'm not going to go over that because we already found out who the parties was in the case style. So let's go down. All right, so here's the factual allegations. And I don't know if this is going to be a trigger warning to anyone. If so, definitely, feel free to click off and, come back on your own time. But we are going to follow this to a T, because I do believe that justice should be done for Shanquella. She is not here, and it's not fair to her family to not have closure. All right, so here are the factual allegations, starting with the unaliving in Mexico. So we have Shanquella Robinson was a vibrant and driven 24-year-old who had already established herself as a remarkable entrepreneur and a beloved community member. As a proud college graduate, she pursued her degree with the dedication and passion, embodying the spirit of hard work and perseverance. In addition to her business endeavors, she had a special talent for braiding hair, particularly for children. This skill allowed her to build a strong relationship with families in her community because she offered a service that brought confidence and joy to young clients. Her gentle demeanor and creativity made her a favorite among kids and parents. Before her entrepreneurial journey, Shanquilla was also a cheerleader known for her infectious enthusiasm and dedicated to her team. Her spirited nature and leadership skills were evident in every aspect of her life, inspiring those around her to strive for the best. Tragically, her life was cut short, leaving a profound impact on her community and loved ones. She is remembered not only for her accomplishments and excitement for travel, but also her kindness, positivity, and the light she brought to the lives of so many. Defendants Dejanay Jackson, Elise Height, Malik Dyer, Winter Donovan, Khalil Cook, and Tyree Wiggins, herein referenced as the Cabo Six defendants, were believed to be friends of the decedent Shanquilla Robinson. Khalil Cook, knowing Shanquilla the longest and best, invited her to join the Cabo Six Defense on what was supposed to be a fun and safe luxury vacation in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, in October of 2022. Shanquilla was invited to attend the trip to Mexico at the last minute because other guests declined or otherwise canceled their plans to join. When she arrived at the Puerto Los Cabos Villa Linda in Mexico on or about October 28, 2022, Shanquilla spoke with her mother, Salamandra Robinson. Neither Shanquilla nor her mother knew that this call would be their last conversation. On or about October 29, 2022, the rest of the Cabo Six defendants arrived at the villa in Cabo San Lucas, as evidenced by the CaboVillas.com private villa and condominium guest register attached as Exhibit A and fully incorporated by reference herein. On or about October 29, 2022, defendant Dejanay brutally attacked Shanquilla Robinson in one of the bedrooms at the villa. Defendant Dejanay repeatedly punched Shanquilla in the face, head, neck, and other parts of her body. During the attack, Shanquilla was naked, completely exposed, and was unable to respond or defend herself. Still, defendant Dejanay tossed Shanquilla around the room in the presence of the other Cabo Six defendants. Not one of the other Cabo Six defendants intervened to assist Shanquilla while defendant Dejanay violence and relentless attack persisted. Sorry. Not one of the Cabo Six defendants attempted to contact local law enforcement during the attack. That is a problem. If you sitting here and you're witnessing a crime, it is your duty to call. Instead, The members of the Cabo 6 defendants reveled at the spectacle and recorded the incident that would be shared later on social media. Multiple members of the Cabo 6 defendants can be seen watching the brutal attack with phones out and heard yelling at Shanquella, not defendant Dejanay. The attack continued for several minutes. Upon information and belief, defendant Winter FaceTimed defendant Dejanay's boyfriend so he could watch the attack. Upon information and belief, defendant Dejanay's boyfriend cheered her on as she continued to strike Shanquella. Upon information and belief, there was nothing Shanquella could have done to warrant this fatal attack. No one tried to console or help Shanquella while her severe and apparently painful injuries. That's sad. When members of the Cabo 6 defendants finally called the Villa concierge um, hours later, they requested medical personnel to get Shanquella hydrated and implied that she needed to be treated for alcohol poisoning. There, right there, is where they went wrong at. Because of the injuries that she sustained, you don't know if whatever they tried to treat her with, you see what I'm saying, would interfere or interact differently or counteract. You don't know. That is man. Shanquilla was not verbally responsive and was um lethargic prior to the doctor arriving upon the scene. Let me scroll up. Defendant Khalil contacted Salamandra Robinson, advising that Shanquilla had alcohol poisoning and that the Cabo 6 defendants were going to put her in the shower. When the doctor arrived, Shanquilla was unable to advocate for her own medical treatment or advise the doctor she had been beaten because her injuries rendered her unable to speak. None of the Cabo 6 defendants told the doctor that Shanquilla was the victim of blunt force to the head and neck. None of the Cabo 6 defendants provided any information to the doctor about the brutal attack. The Cabo 6 defendants continuously told the doctor that Shanquilla was sick from drinking too much alcohol and did not need to be transported to the local hospital for immediate medical attention. After taking Shanquilla's vitals, it became clear to the doctor that Shanquilla needed more than hydration. The doctor implored the Cabo 6 defendants to authorize Shanquilla's immediate transportation to the hospital and notified her supervisor when the Cabo 6 defendants indicated they will not provide authorization. My God. Attached as Exhibit B, this is where they started freaking out. They started freaking out. Attached as Exhibit B and fully incorporated by reference herein is the physician's interview report. Her vital signs were dangerously abnormal. The Cabo 6 defendants denied Shanquilla this life saving treatment by refusing to authorize transportation for her. See, they were scared. That's what that problem is. They were scared that if they found out what was really going to happen, they were going to end up in jail in Mexico, and that's where you don't want to be. The Cabo 6 defendants insisted that Shanquilla only be treated with fluids for alcohol poisoning. The doctor repeatedly requested authorization from the Cabo 6 defendants to transport Shanquilla via ambulance to the hospital because her vital signs were weakening. And I'm pretty sure, just like everybody's like, why are they asking for authorization? You have to realize that you are in a foreign country, so the rules won't apply here if something was to happen and you call the police and they just pick them up and take them to the hospital. You are in a totally different country. Who Let me see where I left off. So the doctor repeatedly requested authorization from the Cabo 6 defendants to transfer Shanquilla via ambulance to the hospital because her vital signs were weakening. Furthermore, the doctor provided information about local public hospitals that could treat Shanquilla at no cost. The Cabo 6 defendants refused. Defendant Khalil called Salamandra Robinson, that's the mother, and told her that Shanquella needed medical treatment for dehydration. Defendant Khalil requested Shanquella's social security number, insurance information, and $5,000. Miss Robinson provided the social security number and advised that everything else would be in her purse. Defendant Khalil never told Salamandra Robinson that Shaquilla was dying, was violently attacked by defendant Dejanay, or otherwise unsafe. Instead, defendant Khalil insisted that Shanquilla was merely dehydrated and needed an IV. At all times during the final moments of Shanquilla's life, Salamandra Robinson was unable to communicate directly with Villa staff, local law enforcement, or medical personnel to get the truth of her daughter's condition. The doctor requested help from the Cabo 6 defendants so that she could attempt resuscitation. Defendant Malik remained in the room while all the other members of the Cabo 6 defendants left. When Shanquilla no longer had a pulse, the doctor called 911 to notify law enforcement that emergency services were needed. Three emergency medical service providers arrived at the villa, including the Mexican Red Cross. All three ambulance agencies confirmed that Shanquilla could not be transported to the hospital at this point because she no longer had measurable vital signs. Shanquilla was pronounced dead at the villa, or unalived at the villa, in the presence of medical personnel and all of the Cabo 6 defendants on October 29th, 2022. According to the autopsy report, which is attached as Exhibit C, Shanquella Robinson's cause of death was a spinal cord injury and atlas luxation. Police officers arrived to prepare the necessary paperwork and take Shanquella's body to the morgue. During this interview with law enforcement, defendant Khalil claimed Shanquella got the bruises on her head and arms from a fall in the pool. At no point during this interview did he inform law enforcement of defendant Dejanay's violent attack on Shanquella. Furthermore, defendant Khalil never told the doctor or any responding physicians that Shanquella fell in the pool. Shortly after law enforcement arrived at the villa, the Cabo 6 defendants packed their belongings and requested transportation to get dinner. Defendant Dejanay and defendant Khalil took Shaquilla's belongings and suitcase with them when they exited the villa. Neither defendant Dejanay nor any of the other Cabo 6 defendants checked out of the villa. Once in the vehicle, the Cabo 6 defendants told the driver to take them to a hotel near the airport. The Cabo 6 defendants returned to the United States the next morning, a full day ahead of schedule, without disclosing the attack or injuries sustained by Shaquella to the Mexican authorities. Y'all know why they went to go by hotel, because if anything, they need to make sure that they was on the plane. They need to make sure that they were out of that country. When the Cabo 6 defendants arrived in North Carolina, each of the defendants worked in concert to conceal information about the facts and circumstances of Shanquella's death from her family and law enforcement. Defendant Dejanay and defendant Khalil came to Salamandra Robinson's home and returned Shanquella's suitcase. In Salamandra's home, I'm gonna just call her Miss Robinson's home, she was grieving the immeasurable loss of her child. Defendant Dejanay and defendant Khalil offered their condolences for Shanquella's passing from alcohol poisoning. Miss Robinson became ill and experienced and exhibited symptoms of sleeplessness, anxiety, depression, and other forms of mental distress as a result of learning of her daughter's untimely death. Now, I have done a couple of wrongful death cases where either, a mother is representing on behalf of their, child, or a father on behalf of their child, or a wife on behalf uh, of the or vice versa. And so they too can be compensated for what they go through. So that is why it's only right. It is only right. I know not enough money can bring back her daughter, but it could right the wrong that the government done. But I hope that in addition to whatever they provide Miss Robinson with, that those six defendants get what they deserve. Just reading that is heartbreaking. They refused. She probably could have had a chance if she was able to go to the hospital, but because they were so scared to be locked up in a foreign country, they let this child, to me, well, I can't say she's a child, I'm only 42, but they let this young lady pass away in a foreign country. The viral video. The disturbing video footage depicting defendant Dejanay's beating Miss Robinson was released on or about November 15, 2002, circulate the internet. Still images of the viral video are attached. Weeks after Shanquella's death, Cabo 6 defendants continued to perpetrate the lie that alcohol poisoning was Shanquella's cause of death. The Cabo 6 defendants did not warn or advise Ms. Robinson that the footage of Shanquella Robinson being brutally attacked in the last moments of her was circulating the web. That right there, crazy. Upon watching the gruesome footage, Miss Robinson experienced renewed anxiety, depression, and other forms of severe mental distress. I know that did because Dejanay went into that lady's house and offered condolences and stuck by her story, saying that this girl passed away due to alcohol poisoning. You sat up there and blatantly lied. Miss Robinson's trauma was exacerbated as family members, friends, and strangers discovered the video. Further, outlets played the video repeatedly on television and on social media platforms. So everywhere she turned, everywhere she go, Ms. Robinson continues to suffer from mental distress as a result of defendants' wrongful actions and the inescapable exposure to the triggering footage. Now, let's get into the investigation. So, denied records requests. Why are these records um denied? That's my part. Anytime we are handling any type of wrongful death, we are subpoenaing records. I'm talking about media outlets, social media, any type of law enforcement, whatever this may be, we are getting our records. So why would these records be denied? So the FBI informs Miss Robinson that it opened an investigation into the unaliving of Shanquella in November 2022. In April of 2023, the FBI advised Ms. Robinson, her family, and the public that no enforcement proceedings would commence, and the agency would not be pursuing a federal prosecution of any of the Cabo 6 defendants. So you open an investigation November 2022, and then you close it, or at least you tell the mother in April of 2023 that you will not be pursuing federal persecution of those six individuals. An initial records request seeking non exempt FBI records from was that October 22nd, 2022 to August 1st, 2023, related to Shanquella Robinson, was mailed in compliance Freedom of Information Act, I call it the FOIA Act, on August 31st, 2023, 4 months after the federal agents stated of their investigation into Shanquella's death. And you would think that they will be like, okay, here's our record showing everything that you have investigated. September 28th, 2023, I responded to this request, identifying responsive records and assigning the FOIA request 1602946-00. The FBI advised these records were exempted from disclosure under what is that? 5 of the United States Code, section, I'm not going to read all that, which states that expected to interfere with enforcement, and this request was administratively closed. So how is it going to interfere with enforcement proceedings if you sent or if you notified the parent they're not going to pursue anything against them? That does not sense. Despite formally closing the case, the FBI refused to return Shanquella's property or provide additional details of their investigation. A year after the federal agents publicly announced the I can't even talk, discontinuation of their investigation of Miss Shanquella Robinson's unlawful death and arriving overseas, a renewed record request was made on May 10th, 2024. The FBI responded on June 6th, 2024. The agency did not, however, confirm or deny the existence of responsive records. Furthermore, the FBI's June 6th response did not indicate this was being processed, when the documents were expected to be released, whether any exemptions applied to request documents, or whether the responsive records would be posted to the FBI electronic FOIA library, which is known as the Vault. The only indication that responsive records may have been identified was the request number, and I'm not going to say the number again, but which is identical to the 2023 request. So is it that you guys just didn't do anything and you don't have no records to release? Because that's what it sounds like. An email received on 2024, the FBI constructively denied the renewed request by stating the estimate date of completion would be sometime within 2010 days, over 5 years. Y'all made that up. That you know what? They didn't have nothing. That's what it was. They didn't have nothing. They didn't have absolutely nothing. And that's truly sad. The agency aims to further extend this amorphous timeline because that's ridiculous. Ooh, I done skipped everything. Hold on. In attempt to justify this unreasonable delay of over 5 years, the FBI categorized the request as complex, meaning we don't have nothing, instead of just coming out to say that. According to the agencies, requests are processed in order in which they are received through the multi track processing system. According to the FBI, complex requests are requests having over 40 pages of potentially responsive documents. These requests are then assigned to the large track if the potential responsive pages are between 501 and 4,999 pages. The agency aims to further extend this amorphous timeline by claiming the search for the responsive records is ongoing for the request. So we do not know yet into which track it will fall because y'all didn't have any records, because y'all didn't do anything. The FBI claims it will take over 5 years to produce previously identified documents, which was never identified because they didn't give them to them, related to an investigation that took the agency 6 months to close. Hmm. This constructive denial was submitted on behalf of Ms. Robinson, and it was denied. I am under the impression, once again, that they did not have any records because they did not do an investigation, or they did open up an investigation, did a little bit of work, and then it just went cold. Causes of action. And I knew this was wrongful, that word, unaliving. I don't know the another term for that. Unaliving. Wrongful unaliving. And that is towards Dejanay Jackson, who was responsible for the unaliving of Shanquella Robinson. And if y'all do not know, she has changed her name on social media, but I'm pretty sure everybody is going to go do some research and find her, because when they came home, it was unrest. And as it should be. It was straight unrest for them. So, with Miss Dejanay Jackson, she and I don't want to say charged because this is a civil case, but her causes of action is wrongful death against her. She attacked her and she caused her fatal injuries. Number 97 says that undoubtedly Shanquella suffered excruciating personal injury, pain, and suffering prior to her untimely unaliving. Had Dessa, she would have been entitled to bring action against defendant for damages, as she should. Pursuant to the North Carolina General Statutes, Section 28A 18-2, those persons being identified as beneficiaries, including her mother, for the following damages, is entitled to compensation: compensation for pain and suffering, compensation for the loss of reasonably expected. That includes the net income of the decedent, services, protection, care, and assistance of the decedent, society, companionship, comfort, guidance, kindly offices, and advice of the decedent to the persons entitled to the damages recovered. Compensation for the expense for having to transport her daughter back from Mexico, funeral and burial expenses. So that's what her mother can get individually. Now, as far as the personal representative of the estate of Shanquella, they have also suffered, and say they because it's the estate and the mother and whoever's included in the estate, in excess of $25,000 as a result of the wrongful death caused by defendant Dejanay Jackson. So count one is against Dejanay. Count two is also against Dejanay for simple battery. Because why? She intentionally and repeatedly punched, kicked, and hit Shanquella Robinson. Shanquella Robinson did not consent to this offensive physical contact at any point during the altercation. As seen on the video, Shanquella was unresponsive as defendant Dejanay violently punched, hit, and tossed her across the room. Neither her nudity nor her apparent physical um, lethargy deterred defendant Dejanay from continuing her attack. So pretty much what they're saying is Deja didn't care that the girl was not dressed at all. She didn't care if she was just lying on the ground, not breathing or moving. She still was going to harm her. Defendant Dejanay's offensive contact directly caused Shanquella Robinson's fatal injuries. Plaintiff Salamandra Robinson, as the personal representative of the estate of Shanquella, has suffered damages in the excess of 1,000 as a result of the battery caused by defendant Dejanay. So we have whatever compensation we'll get for her loss. Then we have the estate. So what was count two? Count two is the battery. So we have wrongful death, right? That's going to exceed over 25. We have simple battery. That's going to exceed over 25. Yep, crazy work. Negligence. Now this is all of them because all of them were negligent. Not one person called. Well, we got to back up. Not one person intervened. Not one person allowed for her to go to the hospital. They are all responsible. Every last one of them. So for Dejanay, she got battery and she has wrongful death. So that's already, and that's over 50,000. It says in excess. So they could be 100,000 for wrongful death. It could be a million. Well, it could be a million for wrongful death. It because you have to take in consideration this. So because it's wrongful death, what we would have to do is, and it says net income. So how much did she usually make? So I'm pretty sure that they would have to give um turnover, or just kind of look at her tax returns to see how much made on a yearly basis. Um, and as far as funeral and burial expenses, how much was that? They got to, take that into consideration. They have to the information of how much it costs for her body to be, exported back to the United States. So all of that. So you got those bills that they're going to have to produce. Then you have the simple battery charge. And then so Dejanay got these, she has pretty much two additional causes of action. So wrongful death, simple battery, and then also negligence. Because all of y'all all of y'all had a duty to step in and you did not. Says right here on 106, you had a duty of reasonable care. You had a duty to disclose the information could potentially have saved her life. You duty by lying to medical staff. You breached your duty because you refused to authorize her to be transported to a hospital so they can, you know, save her life. They failed to disclose critical information directly and proximately that caused her untimely passing. At all times, medical staff in Mexico was unaware of the blunt force to Shanquella Robinson's head and neck and was precluded from assessing these injuries and acted promptly to save her life. They went in thinking she had, alcohol poisoning. So instead of them treating her head injury and neck injury, they were treating her to see if they can get her. What? And I can just imagine the dumbfounded look on their faces, like what were going through your minds as you sitting there watching the medical staff try this girl back to life, and you're just sitting there. All of y'all, all of you all impeded the life-saving treatment she needed. As a representative of the state of Shanquella Robinson, on behalf of the mother, well, not on behalf, but just the personal representative, she has suffered damages in excess of $25,000 as a result of the actions. So that means of them, each of them are going to have to come up out of pocket. Whatever that judgment is, they're going to be indebted for life. Count four, all six of you all. Civil conspiracy. What did y'all do when y'all came back home? Y'all agreed to conceal and destroy evidence connected to her untimely passing. You all knew that the concealation from medical staff and law enforcement in Mexico in order to evade culpability for Shanquella's untimely passing and return to the United States. You all conspired to impede all investigation into the wrongful death of Shanquella Robinson in the United States and in Mexico because any investigation would reveal their criminal and civil wrongdoings, including limited to defendant Dejanay's battery and the Cabo 6 defendant's negligence. Upon information and belief, Cabo 6 defendants tampered with evidence at the crime scene, including but not limited to rummaging Shanquella Robinson's purse and luggage. That part right there, they should be in jail. They tampered with a crime scene. They tampered with a crime scene. We all have watched enough movies to know that if a crime happens, you don't mess with the crime scene. And that's exactly what they did. So on top of watching Dejanay do what she do, you guys did this. That's wild. As planned, the Cabo 6 defendants' scheme to conceal and destroy evidence did not conclude once they departed from Mexico. Upon information and belief, the parties agreed to continue to confirmation and evidence related to Shanquella from law enforcement in the United States. When they were questioned, they all lied. They lied or they did not tell the truth. Let's put it that way. Upon information and belief, when they arrived in the United States, each of the Cabo 6 defendants discussed how autopsy results, especially Shanquella's neck injuries, would criminally implicate them. Bound to the conspiracy agreement, members of the Cabo 6 provided false information to and omitted critical information from Shanquella's family. Plaintiff Miss Robinson, the mother, individually represented a representative of the estate of Shanquella Robinson, has suffered damages in excess of 25,000 as a result of the actions and inaction of each of the Cabo 6 defendants. So that's what count 4. So that's already what, 100,000 in excess. Count 5, unintentional infliction of emotional distress. All of you had a part of doing this. Why? Because y'all shared. You released a video depicting this girl viciously attacking Shanquella Robinson. Wow. She didn't have on. No way to defend herself. Her intimate body parts were fully exposed in the room of Cabo's 6 defendants, and on the footage being disseminated on the internet with her consent. Members of the Cabo 6 defendants post this explicit video on social media, knowing Shanquella's loved ones would be severely psychologically impacted by watching without warning the gruesome violence that ended her life. The Cabo 6 defendants intentionally posted this video to further and embarrass Shanquella and her family, including her mother, Miss Salamandra Robinson. Now, I don't know if they were trying in my I know why they put the language in there, but I'm thinking on that, like, did whoever leaked the video, did y'all do it to say, okay, it wasn't us, this is the person who is responsible? Because you really incriminated yourself, because we all going to be like, okay, you're recording why you didn't intervene. Let's see where we are at. And it is highly foreseeable that posting this triggering video of the violent attack of Shanquella Robinson, her last moments alive, would cause Salamandra Robinson severe emotional distress. The gruesome video not only reached the community of North Carolina residents connected to the Cabo Six defendants, but it also went viral, spreading at lightning speed across the internet. Miss Salamandra Robinson, in fact, suffered severe emotional distress, including but not limited to severe depression, sleeping disorders, and anxiety from the inescapable posting and report footage. While grieving her child, Salamandra Robinson was subjected to view Tranquilla callously and brutally beaten to her untimely passing. Plaintiff Salamandra Robinson, individually and as personal representative of the estate of Shanquella Robinson, has suffered damages in excess of 25,000 as a result of the intentional actions and inaction of each of the defendants. So that we are up to an excess of $125,000. And then yeah, 150,000 in excess, because now we have count six, that is the negligence infliction of emotional distress. You all owe her mother a duty of to use ordinary care. You knowingly disclosed and circulated a video depicting defendant Daisley attacking Shanquella Robinson. This explicit and violent video was posted on the social media platform accessible to millions of users. Once they subpoena their freaking social media, they will find out who actually posted it. At all material times here too, I'm sorry, at all times material here too, it is foreseeable that the rampant circulation of this violent and explicit video Salamandra Robinson severe emotional distress. Once the video went viral on the internet, it was foreseeable that Salamandra Robinson would not only have a visceral reaction to the last moments of her daughter's life, but also such repetitive exposure would cause severe emotional distress. Salamandra Robinson is, in fact, suffered severe emotional distress, including but not limited to severe depression, sleeping disorders, and anxiety, and as a direct and proximate result of each of the Cabo Six defendants' actions and inactions. They owed a duty to use ordinary care in seeking medical care for Shanquella Robinson. You guys breached the duty by withholding critical life saving information from the medical staff. Miss Robinson, the mother, suffered severe emotional distress as a direct and proximate result of the Cabo Six defendants' negligence, including their inaction. Their inaction. Y'all sitting up there not doing anything, not saying anything, caused this girl's untimely passing. Miss Robinson, the mother, suffered severe emotional distress, a foreseeable result of the negligence. Miss Robinson, individually and as a personal representative of the estate of Shanquella Robinson, has suffered damages in excess of $25,000 as a result of the action in inaction. Ooh, ooh, I love it. Now we're coming down to the prosecutors. What did the state do? Count seven, negligence against them. Um, so Miss Sala Robinson is the administrator for Shanquella's estate, and she brings this claim up under the federal tort claim. For more than 160 years, the United States and Mexico have maintained an extradition relationship. At the conclusion of the unaliving investigation conducted by the Mexican authorities, upon information and belief, an extradition request was submitted to the Department State for for defendant A. Notwithstanding the extradition request, upon information and belief, the Department of State failed to forward the request for extradition to the Criminal Division Office of the International Affairs as required. Boy, y'all dropped the ball. That's why. That's why they could not uh give out any information, because all that information would have been out there that they failed to do what they were supposed to do. This failure to submit the extradition request has permitted international fugitive defendant Dejanay to avoid facing legal proceedings for the unaliving she committed in San Lucas, Mexico. As a result of the United States Department of State's inactions and undue delay, plaintiff Salamandra Robinson, individually and personal representative of the estate of Shanquella Robinson, has suffered damages in excess of $25,000. So Mexico did their part. The U.S. dropped the ball. And I'm going to put this out there. We cannot blame the president of the United States. That's why you have different departments and you have the head of different departments. So we can't blame for this. We got to blame the This is why, because if it was the president's fault, then we suing the president, but it's not. It is the head of that department's fault. Mexico did what they were supposed to do. The State Department, they failed. The United States Department of State, they failed. And then we got, so what the FBI do? They on count 8. All right, so it says that number 151, the Federal Bureau of Investigation has the authority and the non-discretionary duty to investigate unalivings of citizens that occur overseas. The FBI advised Salamandra Robinson that an investigation into the death or unaliving of her daughter, Shanquella Robinson, commenced. Then the investigation closed a few months later. As the mother of the deceased, the FBI owed Miss Salamandra Robinson a duty to thoroughly investigate the unaliving of Shanquella Robinson, maintain personal property in good condition, and to inform Salamandra Robinson of the investigation. Because in no way should they have been allowed to bring back that child's suitcase. That's part of the crime scene. The FBI breached this duty by failing to respond to this investigation with the appropriate seriousness and urgency. Their unreasonable delay to investigate and mishandling of evidence led to erosion and destruction of evidence. If the FBI had complied with its duties and statute to investigate, critical evidence would have been preserved. Due to the FBI's delay, the quality of the second autopsy completion by the United States authorities was compromised. I'm going to repeat that. Due to the FBI's delay, the quality of the second autopsy completed by the United States authorities was compromised, as Shanquella's body had been altered by embalming chemicals, decomposition, and the effects of being subjected to a full autopsy by the Mexican authorities. At all material times here too, or at all times material here too, the FBI was aware that the members of the Cabo Six were persons of interest in the unaliving of Shanquella Robinson. The Mexican authorities have maintained that Shanquella Robinson was unalived by the dislocation of her vertebrae in her neck, caused by the barrage of punches from defendant Dejanay. The FBI incomplete investigation directly and proximally caused the damages suffered by Salamandra Robinson and the estate of Shanquella Robinson. Notably, the FBI inaction has impeded Salamandra Robinson's and her family's ability to receive closure and justice from the criminal prosecution of Shanquella Robinson's unaliver. As a result of the inaction and undue delay in investigation, the unaliving of Shanquella Robinson, plaintiff Salamandra Robinson, individually and as the personal representative of the estate of Shanquella Robinson, has suffered damages in excess of $25,000. So we are looking in excess of, I'm gonna just go 200 and some thousand dollars in total. Oh, count nine. The failure to, oh, USC. So 5 USC United States Code, failure to promptly release records. So FBI, they let's see what they do, what they did, what they did. So we know it's an agency subject to and within the meaning of the FOIA request. Miss Salamana Robertson, by and through her counsel, so her attorney submitted these FOIA requests, requesting records of the possession, custody, and control of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Under this code, they are required to produce records responsive to plaintiff's request. As represented in the Federal Bureau of Investigation's response, the agency has in its possession responsive, non exempt documents, including those specifically identified in the plaintiff's request that they have failed to produce. Defendant FBI withholding of non exempt records violates the FOIA. So it's either you guys don't have any records, or you do have records, you just don't want to put them out because it shows what a horrible job you guys did in this investigation. I believe that's what that is. So the plaintiff is requesting that this court order the defendants to immediately process and release all any and all responsive records, enjoin defendant from withholding non-exempt responsive documents, award plaintiff its costs and reasonable attorney's fees, and grant other relief the court deems just and proper. So here is a summary of the relief that she is asking. So for count one, which was wrongful death, and this is against Dejanay, 25,000. For battery, it's Dejanay, 25,000. Um, as far as counts, was that 3, 4, 5, 6? Yeah. So counts 3 through 6 against all 6 defendants, $25,000 apiece. Mm-hmm. Let's see. And that is for negligence, civil conspiracy, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and negligent infliction of emotional distress. For counts 7, it is towards the United States Department, and this is in regards to negligence in the amount of $25,000. The Federal Bureau for counts, oh, wait. I think they're missing the counts. They are. The counts is off. But the remainder of the counts are one for the United States Department, and that's for negligence for the $25,000, as well as counts, the remainder of the counts for the Federal Bureau of Investigation for $25,000. And then we have injunctive relief from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, meaning that you guys need to go ahead and y'all need to fulfill that FOIA request. You need to immediately, and here it is, order compelling the immediate release of responsive records from the FBI. She prays for compensatory damages, punitive damages, um, cost reasonable attorney's fees, and for any other issues to be of fact to be determined by a jury. If they go before a jury, it's not going to be good. So I really truly believe that one, the FBI is going to do what they're supposed to do. But I also do believe that they're going to settle this possibly in mediation, and it's going to be in the millions. I have a strong feeling for that. I really do. Okay. All right. So that is that. Now, if we look at the let's see. Now, remember they were showing the exhibit, right? Uh-oh. So this is the check-in. So this is the guest registry. So they were checked in from October 28th, 2022 through pretty much Halloween. Did I say December? October. October 28th to October 31st, 2022. So we got Khalil, Malik, Winter, Shanquella, Elise, Dejanay, and was it Nazir Wiggins? So that's all then. This is the interview report. So this interview took place shows November 16th, 2022, and it shows that they were now. I don't know why they have both of those checked off. It says legal basis, witness, and then victim. Information about the interviewer. All right, we don't need to know that. Okay, so the person that was interviewed, Carolina Gutierrez. Okay, so they interviewed the doctor. Ooh, this is her statement. This is my statement given to the investigate. Oh, let me blow this up so you guys can see it as well. All right, so this is my statement given to investigation agent Suni, just say Milan, in relation to the facts that are investigated by the Attorney General's Office of the State of Baja California on October 29th of the year 2022 when I was at my place work in the AMC Hospital, which means American Center in Cabo San Lucas in the ooh, municipality of Los Cabos, where I work as a general practitioner at, and that's 213 approximately. I was informed by WhatsApp message that medical assistance had been requested for a person in Puerto Los in San Jose del Cabo at Villa Linda, Puerto Fundadores number 32. The reason for distance was that the person had consumed a lot of alcohol and they wanted to hydrate her. I arrived at the aforementioned address by means of hospital vehicle at approximately 3:15, where I was able to see individuals, including Miss Shanquella. I was received by a male person of dark complexion, slim built, English, approximately 25 years old, as well as by a female of dark complexion of regular build, dressed in blue, approximately 26-year-old. Further back, there was a tall African American person of stocky build with a bulging cap on his head, approximately 28 years old. Uh, these people pointed out to me a dark skinned female of African American descent of slim build, approximately 25 years old, sitting on the couch with her head resting on the edge of the couch and the rest of her body resting on the couch, covered with a light from the chest down and wearing a blouse. I don't remember the details of it. And purple leggings. Her eyes were open. She was, ooh, disheveled, dehydrated. Her lips were dry, and she did not articulate words, only sounds. She had a blow to the forehead on her right side. No deformities were felt in the skull. She had poor response to light. I proceeded to call her name, which was provided seconds before by her companions. I touched her shoulder. I put myself at her height visually without obtaining any response from so I suggested that she needed to be taken to the hospital. I proceeded to take vitals, temperature at 36.1 degrees Celsius, heart rate of 66, respiratory rate of 17, pulse saturation by oximeter of 98%, and blood pressure at 98 over 60. He also had a right conjunctival hemorrhage. I associate, wait, associated her heart and lungs. No abnormal sounds were heard. I noticed her nails were painted and her capillary filling was delayed, which confirmed she was dehydrated. I informed her companions that she was dehydrated, but that she needed to be evaluated at the hospital. I asked if there was a history of um, that type of use. Illnesses, allergies, all denied. I asked how much alcohol she had consumed and what she had consumed. Oh yeah, and what she had consumed. So how much she consumed and what was it that she consumed? The answer was countless and of all kinds. This answer was given to me by the female who will be named as person one and is thin and tall with very long hair, and a second female of robust build, tall, dark complexion, who will be identified as number two, who told me that Miss Shanquella had drunk a lot. I asked everybody how they were related to her, Shanquella. And I was told that they are all friends from college. To help me with Shanquella's assessment, the male identified as number one of slim build, dark complexion, about 25 years old, wearing a cap, and the female named Winter. I know her name because the emergency call was made from her number necessary to provide her name, stayed with me. The girl number 10 went to requested that Shanquella be seen at the address, and the other girl identified as number one said that she had been like this before and that she used to get better with hydration. I insisted that it was better for her friend to be taken care of at the hospital and I can proceed to start hydration, but that she will require assessment and care at the hospital and continued her care there and immediately. That they needed to notify a family member to find out if they would be in charge since there were no direct family members, to which they were reluctant. Winter and the girl number two told me that they had the means to pay me, but they did not have the money to pay the expensive hospital bill. I did not want to receive any kind of remuner- remuneration to count that it was going to be necessary to cover the cost of materials either on the site or outside. I insisted on taking her to the hospital. I informed them that they were public hospitals that had no cost and told them to ask the family members if she, Shanquilla, had any type of insurance and told them to start making the calls because she had to be treated at the hospital. The one who stayed to assist me was the male identified with number one, who helped me to hold her hand to try to place an IV. While they were deliberating what to do, I know that the female identified as number two in Winter called someone reporting Shanquilla's condition and that they need to make decisions. They insisted during the call that Shanquilla was only dehydrated and only needed an IV, and that I was insisting on taking her to the hospital, but they had no money. In turn, I called my boss, Dr. Alvaro Atilano, who confirmed that if I felt it was necessary to take her to the hospital, to emphasize to her friends she need to that wait to emphasize to her friends the need to take her to a hospital, and that I must not move her under any circumstance if they do not accept, and that in case they do not reach a decision, I should leave the place. I then informed them that I could not place the IV because she is dehydrated and does not speak well. Their new response was that they did not have a car to take her in, to which I told them to call 911 or to look for a way to take her there. They replied that all they replied that all costs money. They asked me which hospital they could take her to, and I tell them to the nearest public hospital or the closest one. They deliberate again, and I tell them that I'm going to leave. They tell me that they were already checking with her relatives to see if she had insurance and asked me to try to place the IV one last time. For the third time, I tried to place the IV in her left arm and I succeeded. But when I tried to secure an IV, she began to generalize, oh my gosh, tonic tonic clonic convulsions. At the moment, the person identified as female Winter and the male identified as number one were present. During the convulsions, the IV came out. I compressed her hand. They got scared, and I told them not to move her. I told them not to put anything in her mouth and that now they really needed to call 911. Then Winter told me to do it myself, to which I told her that she needed to make all the call because I had to take care of Shanquella. Then I realized her sphincter had relaxed. At that moment, the male identified as number one told me that she had peed already. This changed my perspective and reinforced the need for a complete evaluation and a complete imaging study with urgent hospital attention and transferred by ambulance. After a few minutes, and when Shanquilla stopped convulsing, I realized her companions were gone. Only male number one and Winter had stayed with me. I then proceeded to monitor her vital signs as much as I could. I request support to position her airway and verify that 911 is being called. Winter called and passed me her phone. I report a female in uh, post-ictal state. Requested an urgent unit. I noticed that abnormal sounds are heard in her breathing rails, and it is difficult to open the airway due to trismus. Her saturation was low. When I tell you this is sad on all types of levels, it's ridiculous. It's really really. I, I don't even know what to say. By this time, about an hour had elapsed. Patient with pulse, increased respiratory effort. Help is requested from the only friend left within my reach, who is the male identified as number one, to look for a hard plastic tube to keep her mouth open. He asked me to transfer Shanquella in my vehicle, to which I tell him that she is in condition and requires an ambulance. He then left, and I was left alone with her, and I try to position the airway, take a pulse. At 6:49, she is detected without a pulse. And that is what, 4:49? Verbally, I shouted to them, she's no longer has a pulse. I need help. The thin girl identified as number one looks out, panic, and leaves. Male number one helps me lower her to the floor next to the couch and place her in a flat position. I, I called 911, indicate this was follow up to a previous report that the patient is now in arrest. CPR maneuver is initiated with me giving compressions and his friend helping me with rescue ventilation until the Red Cross ambulance arrived about 5 minutes after she went into arrest. I asked them to transfer the patient by ambulance, but they refused, saying that they cannot take her without a pulse. The same thing the other three ambulances that came to the scene told me. One of the paramedics managed to place an IV, then the other three responder teams joined in. An AED device is placed and they were not to discharge. Immediately, an illegible cannula is placed and ventilation with bag mask. I am informed that there is a laryngeal mask, but it cannot be placed because there is still trimmus. I insist on transferring the patient. 5 ampoules of adrenaline were applied in two resuscitation efforts, excuse me, until they accepted my advice and they were told via monitor to discharge, and a defibrillation was performed 6 times. The monitor was placed with all these medical terms. Assist, uh, that that word Trace and her friends were informed there were no there was no response. So they did all of that and there still was not any response from Shanquilla. After approximately 1 hour of maneuvers, I informed one of the friends, identified as male number two, of regular build, dark complexion, bald, bearded, who asked me why they did not take her to the hospital, to which I replied that no paramedic accepted to transfer her to the hospital in her condition. He was shaking and left the scene. The paramedics informed me that they were no longer any motor response and that the monitor was in us and that there were no adrenaline left and that in that condition they were no longer going to transfer her. Another attempt at reanimation was made, no pulse was detected, in astolic without any type of motor response with the dilated pupils without pupillary or coronal response. So she was declared deceased at, was that 57. At the end of the third round of maneuvers, the municipal police officers had already arrived at the scene and did not in any way. Only in one of the relays that were made, they asked me about the patient's condition, to which I responded that she needed to be transferred to the hospital, letting the medics work. After she was declared deceased, I waited for the interviewing one of the Red Cross paramedics, as he was the one to first to arrive in the ambulance. One of the officers took my statement, and about 10 minutes before the end of the interview, Giovanni, the administrator, arrived, and the officers told me that I could not leave yet. I stayed there for about 15 more minutes, and I left the place around 19:30. So about was that 7:30 she left. Man, necropsy. I'm assuming that this is the autopsy report. I hereby report this started the crime of femicide to the detriment of Shanquella Robinson against unknown defendant. Let's see, December 8th, 2022, the Spaghetti received a response. Okay, so this is, let me see, I'm kind of reading through this. This is kind of like a report on. Okay, so this is the government of state of Baja California Attorney General's office, and this is for, so this is investigation. So the undersigned attorney Renee Galvin, expert forensic doctor of the Baja California. I'm not reading all that. This is the official letter. So issue, examine and identify the cadaver, determine cause of death of whom when alive was named. Okay, so that's a name, determining the approximate time of that, made detailed description of an external and internal injuries as well as other objectives following. Okay, so material. Okay, so this is, so y'all know how, I don't know, I guess I'm the only weird one, but I found on Tubi, it's this show called, what is it called? The Coroner. And where you know how they, you watch movies and they're in the room and they got their little tape recorder and they'll do an incision and then it'll be like, okay, the time is such and such and such. I have here da 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 with laceration to the fall. Yeah, so this is what that is. This is what that is. I mean, if y'all want to read over it, you just let me know and I will send this over to you. Um, oh my gosh. I'm not going to go over this because honestly, I don't know exactly what it's talking about, but this is the examination that the Mexican government did. And so I'm just going to go. Usually they'll have like a summary and then I could just read that. There, bam, right here. Conclusions. All right, so here is the cause of the unaliving of Miss Shanquella Robinson. Shows atlas and medullary dislocation. It says the type of manner of the unaliving, which was violent. Pre-existing pathology was unknown. Time of the unaliving between 17 to 20 hours. Um, Signs of survival, yes. The cadaver shows signs of torture, no. Determination if injuries are post mortem. No, we found defibrillary injuries consistent with the resuscitation efforts. This injury, oh my gosh. So, they were trying to resuscitate her. Oh my gosh. Whew, this just makes me sad. And then this is just, they had to get the body back to back to North Carolina. That's the evidence room. So here's her body. Then we have the evidence at the place that included her handbag, two books, a notebook, hygiene. So just her purse, passports, and cell phone, and ding dongs took her luggage to the mouse. Lord Jesus. Um, I'm really a loss for words right now. Um, it's tragic, and we still don't have all of the answers. My question is, what did you all have against Shanquella? Um, why would you invite me somewhere? And when I say that, and I'm thinking, like, if people don't like me, why would you invite me somewhere? So, like, as a friend, why would you have invited her there? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. This is very sad. This is tragic. Um, I do pray that the mother and the family gets justice. As I said in the beginning, there's no amount of money that can bring her back, give the family closure, but at least if justice is served the way that it is supposed to be served, then it can bring some type of closure to the family. I don't know what it's like to lose a child. I watched my aunt lose two of her children, and you don't get over that pain. My aunt passed away last year, and I watched my grandma. It's just, and my grandma's older. She's 80 something years old, and my aunt was what, about late 50s, but that pain is still there. So it's not something that will ever go away. But in this situation, you have individuals that were responsible. Well, one individual that was responsible for her untimely passing. You have five other individuals, or four. I can't keep count, because it was what, six of them? No, it was the couple six. Yeah. So you got five other individuals that could have intervened, and they didn't. You have five individuals that could have said, okay, yes, take her to the hospital, but because they were scared. One, you're in a foreign country, and I get it. You're in a foreign country, and this happened. So if this one person goes down, we all going down, because we all witnessed it. We all witnessed it, which is tragic. It is truly sad. Y'all didn't intervene. Y'all didn't give authorization for her to be transported to the hospital. You didn't disclose exactly what happened to her, because if y'all did, then the doctor could have done something to at least get her in the ambulance and get her to the hospital so she could be treated. I pray that the family gets justice. In the comments below, tell me what your thoughts about this. This is something that I am definitely going to be following because it has been 2, 3 years and absolutely nothing has been done. Somebody needs to be held accountable. Miss Dejanay, you need to be all six of you. I'm not even gonna call her out. I'm calling her out specifically because her punishment needs to be more harsher than the other five. But you all need to be held accountable. For the Federal Bureau of Investigation, uh, no, not even. I'm not going because y'all didn't release the records. For the United States Department of State, you failed as well. The Mexican authority sent extradition paperwork to have Dejanay sent back to Mexico so she could be charged properly, and you did not do that. You did not do that. Y'all tell me what y'all think about this in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until then, you guys be blessed. I'm out. Bye.